session to talk not just about face-to-face, but also in the virtual world and how it impacts you in case you have virtual employees or you still have some people working from home, which may be with us for a really long time. Incredible the impact that we as leaders have on people. I have to say that that's probably one of the things that worries me most about leaders. I don't think leaders have any clue. I don't think they stop to think about it and just be kind of taken aback by the fact that they have so much impact on the people around them, on their team. Every person on that team watches the leader to figure out how to behave, to understand what the organization's about, and to cement their belief or disbelief that this is for real. That leader has such impact, and the relationships that you have with the people on your team, that should really be first on your mind every day. And you know why? Because we already talked about the definition of a boss, and we said that the boss gets the job done through others. Well, if you don't have a good relationship with others, then we're going to have a problem getting anything done. The people that you have on your team, that should be first on your mind every day. The thing is we all have different personalities, and we know this to be true. Gee, this is not new. I mean, some people are just naturally direct, and other people that you know are maybe a little more creative. Some people just seem to be naturally sweet and loving. You have some friends like that, just so sweet. And then others like this little boy standing here, maybe just a little bit nerdy, kind of particular about things. And when I talk about, the different styles of personality here, and you can see from these pictures, just, the attitude, start thinking about the people on your team, start thinking about the people around you, and let's figure out where these people are. What is their personality and what's yours? I mean, right now, and you don't have to put this in chat or say anything, it can be a complete secret, but just looking at these 4 photos, which one is you? I bet you can tell. Just looking at their attitude there, just the way they're standing. Which one is you? We'll just leave it at that for now. The best way to find out what your personality style is to take an assessment. And probably some of you have done this before. There are all kinds of assessment tools out there. I've heard of Enneagram and Caliber. Of course, there's DISC, and there's all kinds of 4-colored ones, 4 colors or 4 animals. There's all kinds of assessment. Myers-Briggs, there's a lot. And StrengthsFinders, yeah, you've probably done some of these. And it's no surprise because guess what? This has been around long before us. I think it was actually Hippocrates around the year 460 BC who first suggested that humans had a persona, a personality that's comprised of 4 distinct temperaments. So this has been around for a long time. We've been talking about this, but taking an assessment and understanding what your personality is, understanding yourself, is the first step. That would be something great you could do for yourself. Before I go further, I just want to stop and with a warning and a qualification. If you finish this session and you say, I want to take one of those assessments, and you go Google it, you can find free stuff. Very dangerous. If you're going to take a personality assessment, make sure that you take a validated assessment, something that you know is for real, that has been checked out and is a valid instrument, because there's an awful lot of stuff out there on the internet that may or may not be true, and it could take you down the wrong track. So just be careful with this. Know that this is a very serious tool, and you should make sure that you're taking a valid instrument if you do this. Myers-Briggs, I bet some of you have done Myers-Briggs, right? Some people have done this. Myers-Briggs is a very interesting assessment. It gives us 16 possibilities for our personality style. Myers-Briggs isn't my favorite. And I'll tell you why it's not. It's just because there are so many combinations of letters that it overwhelms me. It's like, I can use this. I know which one of these is my style, and I can learn from that, about myself. but I have a very hard time learning about anybody else because there's so many possibilities. I can't figure it out. You know, it's like the INTP and the INTJ. Just one letter is different, but we're different people. And that means our relationship's going to be different. It's mind-blowing to me. You know, it's mind-blowing. But a lot of us have taken this, and it's helpful for us to understand ourselves. I do a management certification class through Florida State. And that's one of the things we do. We do like an abbreviated Myers-Briggs so that they'll understand themselves as a leader. I have trouble helping them to look at the personality of their employees because of the complication that I just talked about. But it's still nice to understand yourself. That's the first step. You know, just for fun, I have to tell you where this thing came from. I wonder if you know that. It's called Myers-Briggs because it was invented by two women, believe it or not, two women. Catherine Briggs, she was the mom, and Catherine Briggs, back in the 20s, 30s, she was so interested, like almost obsessed with the theories of Carl Jung. Can you imagine? She like read everything. She was a stay-at-home mom, but she just was obsessed with all of his theories and all of his research on personality types. Her daughter, Isabel, who got married to someone named Myers, and so now her name is Isabel Briggs Myers. In the 1940s, early 1940s, for the first time, she expressed interest in what her mom was interested in, because of World War II. You see, for the first time, women were joining the workforce. Women had never applied for jobs, interviewed for jobs, and they saw this as a way to help women understand themselves so that they could get better jobs, do better interviews, and have more opportunity. So these two went crazy in their house, actually in Mom's house. The story is they had these index cards with all this research, and they had millions of them all over the place, the garage, the living room, the kitchen, everywhere, trying to put this theory together. And eventually, you know what we got? We got this assessment tool that we've been using for a lot of years. Some people discredit the tool, not just because it was two women, although that doesn't work in its favor, of course, for the 1940s, but because it was two women that had no real research behind it. I mean, this was someone who was self-taught, who read Carl Jung, who really obsessed on the theories and took it from there. It wasn't like she was formally educated by Carl Jung or anything. So some people wonder about it. But you know, we've used this for many years, and it's a really useful tool. And it's something that I think we'll continue to use. So, and then, of course, there's my favorite DISC. And I want to show you one thing here. You'll see the way DISC is spelled here, and that's a trademark. That's Wiley. That's the company that I'm licensed with. So if you're out researching on the internet and you look up DISC, if it has a small I, then this is the product that I'm really talking to you about today, the one that I know is valid and bona fide. So with DISC, we only have 4 styles, and that's one of the reasons I like it, because they say, I think it's the simplest, most complex tool ever. Because you say 4 styles. Well, see, this goes really right along with what Hippocrates said. It goes right along with what they've been telling us in research over the years. This was invented by a guy named Dr. William Marston. In 1928, he published a book that detailed his theory on this, and it was called, are you ready for this? This is a great book title, The Emotions of Normal People. I love it. The emotions of normal people. So, you know, in other words, there are some people that are not normal, and this may not apply, but very funny, I think. And interestingly, too, is Dr. Marston also invented Wonder Woman. Isn't that funny? And he invented the polygraph machine. So when you look at the Wonder Woman character, you can see a lot of this kind of DISC theory and these DISC characteristics in that character. Kind of funny. But his theory is this. He says that there's 2 dimensions, that you start with this. You ask, and I want you to do this for me as I'm explaining this, okay? I want you to take note of you personally. Would you say that you're active, fast-paced, and outspoken, quick to make a decision, you want to move forward, you don't want a long delay? Or are you more thoughtful, cautious, and reflective? So are you likely to take quick action, make a decision, and move forward? Or do you need some time to think about it, look at it, think about the details, just a little more cautious and reflective. So which one are you? Throw it in chat. Tell me, are you active and fast-paced, or are you thoughtful and cautious? Let me see some chat on this. Let's see what our audience is like here. Let's see what I can see. Oh, Brittany's an ISTJ. Depends on the subject. Okay, and that can happen. Thoughtful and cautious. Okay, and then we have an active. All right. So that's the first dimension in this. Jennifer, I think you are more active too. I would agree. But Jennifer, what you're describing is probably a more mature ability once you recognize your style to be able to flex your style based on the situation. So thoughtful and cautious. Mostly I do move quickly. Same thing, you have an ability to flex if you need to, Tina, great. So the second dimension here is this. Are you questioning and skeptical or accepting and warm? Okay, questioning and skeptical is more task-oriented, where accepting and warm is people-oriented. So which one are you? Are you more people-oriented or are you more questioning and skeptical? Go ahead and chat. Let me see what you got. You know, you question things. You just want to make sure you're going to not take things on the surface here. You're going to check it out. Skeptical. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Or are you more accepting and warm? Like, well, I can go along with that. I see we have both styles here. That's great. That's cool. So now what you do is you put that together and you have DISC. These are the styles. So if you said you're active and fast-paced and questioning, like Jennifer, that's a D. That's a D style. If you said you're active and fast-paced but more accepting and warm, that's our I style. If you said you're accepting and warm but more thoughtful, that's our S. And questioning and skeptical and thoughtful, that's our C. And that's how DISC is based. That's like a quick people read on what the DISC styles look like. So that kind of gives you an idea how that works out. Interesting, right? So now you kind of have an idea of what your DISC style is. Like I said, the most accurate, best way is to take the assessment, but now you know. So how do you get along with everyone? That's what this session is about. And I want to start by talking a little bit more about those personalities. As I said, this is not all about DISC. This is about what personality you have and the personality of the people on your team and what you do to get the best from your team because you're able to have that great relationship. So I want to show you this, if this helps. This is a cartoon that I found in Harvard Business Review, which is a magazine. I don't think this was written about DISC or any personality thing in particular. Maybe, I don't know. The cartoonist is Don Moyer. But I love this because I think this explains to you how the workplace is. So let me tell you what I see when I look at this, all right? So here's what I see. I see 4 people that are working on a puzzle, the same puzzle. And I relate that puzzle to their mission. In any organization, we all have the same mission, really. We're all working towards the same thing, right? So these people are all working to complete the same puzzle. But you see 4 very different thought bubbles in their head. 4 people with different thought bubbles about how to get this thing done. The first lady, as you see, is holding a piece of puzzle, and she's also offering you one. And in the bubble in her head, and again, as we look at this, which are you? Which one are you? She says, hey, if we all get together on this thing, we can kill the competition. We can do this. We're going to be best. We're going to be number 1. She's going to be our cheerleader. She's optimistic. She's got great ideas. She just wants us to go forward. She's active, but she's really concerned about the people at the same time. So she wants everybody to get together and get this thing done. The second person, you can see that he's holding out a piece of puzzle to you, and in his head, his thought bubble, it's bottom line. We got to get this thing done right, on time, on budget. That's what matters. Get it done. So she was all about, let's get together and do this, but he's about, let's just get this done. The third person, check it out. I call him the all about the love guy. He's standing on his puzzle. He's not even holding it up because to him, the most important thing is we just all need to get along. We'll get this thing done, but let's make sure everybody is enjoying this. Let's make sure that everybody's a part of this and then we have a good, happy work environment. So let's all get along And if we work on this together, if we all get along, we'll be okay. As the third guy. Fourth guy, holding up two pieces of puzzle. That was good, puzzle. And in his thought bubble, he sees this puzzle completed the way it's supposed to be, in perfect order. He's probably already applied that puzzle glue that holds it together, you know, because he's going to make sure we got this thing done, we got it right. So I think that's actually a pretty brilliant description of the 4 personality styles that we just heard about with the Myers-Briggs model, with DISC, and all these other kind of tests that we've ever taken. So think about it. Which one are you? Let's get creative. Let's just get together, get creative, and get this done. Let's just get this done. That's what matters. Let's get along. Let's get this right. Which one are you? Gonna put it in chat. Let me see what we got. Give me some chat. Jennifer, we don't change as we get older, but we may get more, as we get more experience, we may learn how to manage our behaviors a little better. I'm never going to say it's because you're older. Let's see, get this right, get this done, get creative, get this done. This is interesting. So you can see kind of what your style is, right? Ah, great. So now that you know what reflects your personality, which one of these people drives you nuts? Now that you understand your style and you look at this, which one is a challenge for you? I mean, I can look at this and I can tell you the one that's going to aggravate me. Can you do that too? Which one's going to be aggravating for you? Oh, look, you guys are figuring it out. The second one is the one. Yeah, that second one, he's kind of direct, bold. Let's get this done. That's the same one. Yeah, the second one. So see, you can already imagine, you already can figure out which personality style might be difficult for you. And the next question is, how is your style impacting your team? You know that your style, you've already identified the style that is hard for you. But that doesn't mean we can just not have those people on our team. What are we going to do? How are we going to get along with them? That's what we got to talk about next. Because here's the thing. The best team is going to have a combination of all styles. The truth is, you have all styles within you. You have the ability to operate in all those different realms. You just have a natural pull towards one style. Well, that's going to be your strength. That's where you're going to go. That's your go-to every time. That's how you are. That's your personality. My style is a problem because they get creative, meaning they just wing it. I know, sometimes that really drives you nuts. I'm going to talk in detail about these styles, and I'm also going to give you tips on how to work better with them. Because as the leader of the team at a higher level, this is about understanding myself, knowing that people of this type probably drive me crazy anyway, and being able to create that great team anyway. Knowing how to work with them. So as we go, think about these things. How's your style impacting your team? We got the creative type. Let's get it done. Let's get along, and let's get this right. Okay, for the rest of the session now, you have an assignment. And this is your assignment. So I'm going to give you a minute to do this, to jot down first all the names of the people on your team. And then what we're going to do is, as we discuss all of this, I want you to record which style you think fits your team, each person. And note some tips for getting along better with each one as we go. So grab a piece of paper, first jot down everybody on your team. And you know what? Here's the really cool thing about DISC. I'll tell you after I take a drink. And about personality style. I'm talking today to you in a business mode, but this also applies to your significant other, to all the relationships in your life, to customers, to everyone. It applies to everyone. So it's not just the people that work right with you. This applies to everyone. And I'll tell you an interesting story as I launch into this. When I worked for the state of Florida for a lot of years. And when I launched on my own. I went to my local SBDC to ask for help in starting a business because, you know, they're great at that, right? The counselor that I talked to, the consultant that I talked to, he wanted to know about my business plan. Now, my style is creative. I had a great idea of what I wanted to do. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I couldn't understand for the life of me how a business plan fit in. He was very detail oriented. He was the one that wanted everything to be right. And for him, he didn't see how I could launch into business until I had crossed all the T's and dotted the I's on a business plan. I couldn't figure out for the life of me why I needed it. So I said, why do I need this? And he said, in case you need a loan. I don't need a loan. Well, and he just had reason after reason. And the thing is, I was really frustrated because I didn't think he was listening to me and hearing my idea, which I thought was brilliant, of course. And he wasn't listening. You know, he just wanted to go right to that business plan. It was a terrible meeting because he didn't understand his own style. He didn't understand mine. And he didn't understand how we could each bend to come together and make it better. And I wasn't much better at the time. I was frustrated with him too. You know, he was frustrated with me. And I didn't go back. I didn't go back because I just didn't feel like there's any way he could ever understand what I was trying to do. That's the damage that can be done when you don't take time to understand yourself and understand others. So not only does this apply with your team, it applies with relationships, applies with your significant other, applies even with your mother-in-law and with everybody around you. All right, so you've got your list. And so if you want to add some other people to your list, like, you know, the person who drives me crazy is my husband or my wife or one of your kids, whatever, you can jot their name down too and kind of keep notes. All right, here we go. Let's learn how to do this. So we're going to talk about the 4 styles. Creative, the guy who wants to get it done. Let's get along and let's get this right. And we're going to start with the creative type. All right, let's get creative. This is where we're going to start. So here's what we know about folks that are creative. They are very optimistic, first of all, and it's natural. I've had people ask me, why do you fake being optimistic? There's nothing to be optimistic about. I'm not faking. They're not faking. They just have an ability to see things from an optimistic point of view. Jennifer, I bet you're like that. You're probably like a DI. You're probably like between D and I. They have big ideas and they need to talk. As a matter of fact, they think out loud. So, you know, when I'm telling you an idea and I'm thinking out loud, I'm making it up as I go because it's like right there for me. I can verbalize it. The only problem I have is that sometimes when I'm talking to you, it's like, look at that picture of a pineapple. Hey, that gives me another idea. So sometimes, you know, people think I'm a little impulsive, you know, that I don't stick with one thing because I have so many ideas. I like new things. People of this style, they like new things, you know, shiny new objects really excite them and they'll change their focus from this right to that shiny new object because it's so exciting. They're creative. They love it, you know. They see the big picture of everything. It's an incredible gift. It's like you show them something or you talk to them about an idea. They don't see the details and they don't get down in the muck, but boy, they can see that thing done. They can see what it'll look like when it's complete. Just like that, they can see the whole thing. Incredible gift. But they don't really want to talk to you very much about the details. And they love being around people. Now, for some of you, these may be aggravating to you, especially if you are a person who likes results. If you like to get things right, this is irritating because you're all about making sure we cover the bases, taking care of details. These guys have way too much emotion. They come in, they talk all the time, and you just wish they'd shut up. So it's really difficult for you sometimes. So what can we do? What can we do? How do we improve our relationship? They need, first of all, for us to be engaged and friendly. So being pushy with them or, you know, being kind of sullen, like, you know, depressed, sad, they can't take it. They need to be around people who share their enthusiasm, or at least try to meet them halfway. Letting them verbalize is really important because, like I said, they think out loud. So if you shut them up, you're destroying them. They need to be able to tell you what they're thinking. Now, sometimes they get a little carried away. They talk a little much, and you have to bring that back a little, but it's really easy because they're very receptive. If you say, okay, hold on, time out, let me back up now and see where we are. They're cool with that because what they really care about is they want to feel like you're really listening and you value them. So that's cool for them because you're all into it. Yeah, go ahead. You know. Now, what they don't love is if you ask them so many questions that you're throwing a wet blanket over their idea. You know, if you don't really let them fully verbalize it. So you've got to let them verbalize it. Be sociable with them. Remember, they love people. They're very visual. They're going to have a lot of color. They're going to use a lot of color, a lot of visuals. They think that way. It's pretty incredible. So they're very visual. Use charts with them to help them understand things, you know, graphs, pictures. Yeah, they love that. As much as you can, try to mirror some of their enthusiasm. I know sometimes it's hard because they're out there, but just let them know that you're interested, you're listening, you're with them. And with them, focus on who, because they're really about people, right? They need to feel valued. So if you have that person on your team who is this creative type, I think those tips will really help you. But let me talk to you about someone on your team who has this style that's virtual. Let's talk about the virtual thing, all right? So in virtual situations for our creative type, it's a lot of what we already know, a lot of what we talked about. Again, let them verbalize. But again, because especially virtual, you know, your time may be limited. Like I said, they're okay with that. Just say, all right, tell me your idea, but I only have 5 minutes. You know, so set limits for them so that they'll know. And they're fine with that. They can tell you everything in 5 minutes if they know that's what it is. Or tell them, you know, sometimes you get a little off track. Look at you got a 5-minute sign. Hey, look at you. You must have some people like this. That's good. I love it. I don't have anything else to say on that. Remember that they love small talk. You know, now some of our styles don't want you to come in and say, hi, how are you today? You know, but this style, yeah, they do. They want you to come in and acknowledge them and say, how are you today? You know, how are things going? They need a little bit of that small talk. This is hard in virtual situations. As a matter of fact, we're suffering from this as a whole with virtual situations because we're not making time for small talk. And we have a whole population out here who really needs this. You know, here's an interesting factoid for you while we're getting started on this. When you look at the US population and you look at the different styles, can you believe this? It's almost even 25% for each style. 25%. I think one of them's 26 versus 24, but we're almost even 25 around the board. So 25% of your staff are missing it completely if you're doing no small talk at all. One trick that I've been using for this virtually is many times before I start a session, I'll do a 5-minute breakout group in groups of 2, and I'll randomly assign, let them have 5 minutes just to say, good morning, how are you, what's happening? And it really helps everybody to just warm up a little bit. Be sure to ask them for their thoughts and opinions because they have them and they will feel valued if you ask and they have an opportunity to share. Like I said, use visuals, even virtually. You know, visuals are important. Give them an opportunity to use those visuals. One of the things that I do with that to really help that style is I don't use the whiteboard on Zoom so much because people find it confusing and they lose their files because it puts them in strange places. But I'll let them open up a Word document or a PowerPoint document, whatever they want, to make their point and present it back to the group. And they really enjoy that. The important thing is show them you're listening because they don't feel valued if you're not listening to them. So that's our creative style. How are you feeling so far? Is it helpful?
I'm actually wondering if I have multiple personalities.
I would say it's likely. All right, I got a thumbs up from Brittany and Verdania. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, but welcome. All right, let's talk about our next style. Now, that was for your creative types. What are we going to do about these folks that several of you said you think this is a problem for you, that get it done person? I'm not surprised it's a problem for you, because these folks sometimes are kind of pushy. They're very direct. They want things to get done, and they become very focused. And sometimes they can even appear a little bit rude. My favorite story about this style was one time I was asked to help a manager who was pretty new to an organization. He had been there about 6 months. He was brilliant. Oh my gosh, he was so great. They were so happy that they had found this person and hired him. He was amazing, amazing results. There was just one problem. Nobody liked him. He wasn't getting along with anyone. And he asked me if I could come in and try to help. So I'm waiting to see him for the first time, right? And I'm outside his office, which he has the door shut, but okay, he's a pretty high up executive. Like, he's probably got somebody in there. He didn't, turns out. But the great thing was that before I had to meet him, there was a sign on his door, a little bit like Brittany's, but this sign said, "Be brief, be bright, be gone." I'm like, uh-oh, this is a get it done guy. So what I'm not going to do is go in and say, "Hi, how are you? So you've been here 6 months. How are things?" Because he wants me to get right to the point. Think bullet points. Let's talk about how to work better with this. They're very direct. They want you to be direct. Bullet points work great. They become very, very focused, and it's hard for them to shift gears when they are in that focus mode. So they're working on something at their desk, and you pop in and say, "Hey, I want to talk to you about an idea." And they're like, "Get away from me now." And they're trying not to say that because, they know you already think they're rude. But that's what they're thinking. I mean, you're going to do much better with them if you do something like, "Hey, I have an idea," send them an email. "I have an idea. Could I get 10 minutes of your time today?" That's going to work a lot better. You're going to be setting yourself up for success if you don't just do that. They're also very quick to make decisions. One thing you should know about them is that they're not worried so much about making a bad decision. Now, I know some of you are. You think through it. You spend a lot of time thinking through it because you don't want to make the wrong decision. They just want to move. They know that if they make a decision and it's wrong, we'll just make another decision and move forward. They're very quick to make decisions. So expect that. They're impatient. They don't have time to waste. They like to be in charge. They very much like to be in charge. And sometimes it's hard for them when they're not. So if you have employees that work for you and you're in charge and they're not, it might feel a little intimidating to you because they can be kind of pushy. They're very action oriented. So what do we do about these people? Let's see. Let me give you some tips for working with these folks. Understand that they need efficiency. They need competence. So if you go to talk to them, be ready. Actually, the advice on the door was pretty good. Be brief, be bright, and be gone. Be ready, be direct. Don't waste time. I would recommend bullet points. I mean, if you have a conversation with them, you want to talk to them about something, I would say something like, "Tina, I need to talk to you about this, and I have 3 things that I need to tell you. It'll take me 5 minutes. I'm going to have a much better chance of success with Tina if she's this style, if I set it up that way. But then I got to stick to it. I got to stick to it." Now, it's not that this person doesn't want to have small talk. They do, but they'll tell you when. Usually it's going to be at lunch or after work. But if they're focused on work and focused on a project, they're really focused on what? What do I need to be doing? And if there's a problem and you go into them with a problem, you better have a solution. You need to have some suggestions for how we're going to solve this problem. Otherwise, they're going to feel like you're wasting their time. They don't want you to whine. And we do have some personalities that are kind of naturally whiny. That's not going to work with this style. They don't like that at all. and that style is the whiny style. To them, I know it's not you, but the whiny side to them is that style that wants everybody to get along. The all about the love guy, that's the one they have trouble with. Those two styles don't go together well, because the all about the love guy, he wants everybody to get along. He's not in a rush to get it done. The most important thing to him is that people get along, that we all get along and we work together. This guy is action oriented. He wants a move. He wants to get it done. And he thinks that all about the love guy is kind of wishy-washy. It's a tough relationship sometimes. So I think these tips will help you. Let's talk about virtual. If there's anything else we can do in a virtual situation. The first thing is don't expect small talk. And remember, probably one of the greatest things about what you're learning today is I hope you're beginning to understand this is not personal. Many times, and before I understood this, I used to think, why don't they like me? I'm great. What is the problem? It has nothing to do with liking me. It's just they have a natural personality style that's abrasive to me because of my natural style. So I have to understand that. But with a D, don't expect that you're going to get small talk virtually or in person unless it's at a time when they're not focused and something else is going on. But if they're focused on a project, don't expect it. They're going to get to the point pretty quickly. Be ready for it. Don't think you're going to go in and hang out for a few minutes before you get to work. Nope, they're going to be ready to go as soon as you get in there. Watch for missing information because they are so quick to make decisions and to get things done that sometimes they do not explain themselves well. And sometimes they haven't thought through it very well because they just want to move forward. So watch for that, and they're fine if you point it out. They're fine. It doesn't bother them. It makes them think you're competent, and they like it when you're competent. So don't be afraid to do that. Don't expect them to be all smiley and happy because they're very serious people. It's not personal. And just know that they may rush objectives because remember, their thing is like, let's get this done. So that's our style that is a little bit pushy, a little bit abrupt, but what a talent. They drive us forward. If we don't have people who drive results, we sit there sometimes doing nothing. And I've seen organizations like that because see, here's where this goes. It becomes an organizational culture, the people that you have on your team. If you have a team that's not achieving anything at all, other than having good meetings and a good time, and you have frustrated people, it may be that nobody is this style. Nobody's driving results. Nobody's setting those goals and pushing us forward. That's why I say the best we can hope for is that we get all these styles on our team, even though it's hard to manage sometimes. But if you understand your style and how that style interacts with their style, that's the best. That's what we're going for. So that's get it done. I see a lot of chats, but I don't want to stop and read them because I don't want to interrupt the flow of the workshop. So I'm going to count on you, Jennifer, to make sure I get the important ones when I get through all the styles, okay? Because I see it's time's flying here. Okay, let's talk about getting along. Aw, aren't these sweet pictures? This is the style that everybody likes. They're friendly. We like them. They get along well with people. They're real people. They like people. So let's see what they're about. They're friendly, but they're kind of indecisive. They take a while to figure things out sometimes because they're so concerned about the people involved. And they want to make sure that everybody's involved and that we're all together on this thing. So they're looking for that stability. And if they're threatened, if their stability is threatened, it's hard for them to move forward. I think the thing about this style that worries me the most when I have a person of this style on my team is that if I'm not really careful to include them on purpose, like actually call them out and say, Elise, you haven't had much to say. What are you thinking? If I don't call them out, they'll shut down. If they don't feel valued, they'll shut down completely. And they just won't say anything. What a waste, because they are so talented. They have such loyalty and they have a methodical mind. They can see how this will impact this and how we need to do these steps in order to accomplish this. And when we don't tap into that, we're really missing something. So we have to be careful to make sure that they feel they're valued so that they can be a really productive part of our team. Otherwise, if you allow them to sit back and not participate, they will. They need time to process things. This is another thing that kind of worries me about teamwork, especially, in our world and society, the way, we have to push things forward and we have to get things done. But do you know, when I said there's 25, 25, 25, 25, that means that 50% of our population needs time to think and reflect. 50%. 50% of your time, of your team, needs time to think about things before they make a decision or come on board with you. We talked about how do we get them to commit? They have an opportunity to weigh in, then they can buy in, right? We don't give them that time. We have to give them think time. So these meetings where you get in there, pressure them with time, pressure doesn't work. Now, what the best thing to do with this, when you have these people on your team, well, actually 50% of your team, is to not rush into decisions. But if you're making a decision and you're right at the cusp, take a break. Let's go to lunch. Let's come back right after lunch and we'll wrap this up. Or maybe let's meet again tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock and finalize this so that they have time to think. This style, they get accused of being very bad at change. They're not bad at change. They're just bad when they don't have time to figure out why this change is needed and how it's going to work. And if they can just have a little time to process it, they're great with change. They'll be right there telling you how to do it right. Whew. So this is a really important style. They're very talented, but they need compassion and they need patience. They need patience because they really care about people and they're very sensitive. They want you to care about them. So in virtual situations, be patient, take time to explain things to them because sometimes in virtual situations, we're not too good at that, right? Be logical. Be sure to ask for their opinion. Don't let them off the hook. Forget the pressure thing. That's not going to work with this style. We already talked about that. And with them, you want to focus on why. Because like I said, they'll come on board, but they want to understand why. Remember that they have a systematic way of doing things, a method for doing things. They work best when they can come in every day and do the same thing the same way over and over again. And when you throw a wrench in that, they fall off their chair. They don't even know what to do. They need time to figure out how that process is going to work, how things are going to work when this change applies. Show them you care. They need to know that you care. Otherwise, you risk losing them completely, just having them become disengaged. And I know you don't want that. Okay, one more style. Here we go. Let's get this right. Let's get this right. Okay, so these folks are very particular. They're analytical, they're logical. Quality is top priority for them. They want things to be done the way they're supposed to be. There are rules and regulations and procedures for a reason, and we should follow those. And you should too. They want details. See, some of the other styles don't. Like I said, the creative style, they're not so much into the details. They have great ideas and then they want somebody else to finish it up because, they're busy with a new idea. But these guys will make sure they'll hold us responsible, Working together, great relationship, because that creative type who doesn't really want to be bogged down in the details, if they have somebody of this style who's working with them, they make up for so much of what you're not great at. And you make up for so much of what they're not great at because you bring them enthusiasm and hope and optimism that's hard for them. They prefer a guarantee. They want a guarantee that this is going to work. And we can't always deliver that, but that they're just trying to justify in their mind that this is reasonable. Amazing ability for this style. Amazing. It's mind-blowing. They are very systematic, very systems thinkers. They understand that everything impacts everything else. But whereas the creative style, I said, they can see this whole thing done and what it'll look like and it'll be beautiful. What these guys say is, when you mess with this, you're going to mess with this. And that's going to impact that. And they can see it. They can see that in their mind, like how everything impacts everything else. A lot of other styles can't see that, but they see it. So, wow, How valuable is that? That's crazy cool. Wish I could see that. I have to call this style to help me see that. They need facts. They need space. They usually like to work alone. They don't really love working with other people so much. They do really well in situations where they can be on their own, autonomous, and they want to feel respected. So with them, we want to be precise and we want to give them details. The best that you can probably do if you have something to talk with them is send an email with the policy or whatever it is attached, the proposal attached, so that they can read it in advance. They like things that are written down. They like if you present things in writing before you bring it to them. That really helps them because then they can see how everything aligns and reflect on it and get their questions ready. Focus with them on how this is going to be done. How are we going to accomplish it? And remember, respect. They want to see that you know what you're talking about. So don't go in unprepared. Show them your expertise as well. That validates for them that you are that you're competent, and that's important to them. Now, on the whole virtual side, not a lot different. Be precise. Give them the details. Present it in writing when you can in advance. They also need some time to think and focus on how. Show your expertise. A lot of the same qualities with that. So those are our 4 styles. Get creative, get it done, get along, get it right. How are you doing with taking notes? Are you getting some tips for the people that you work with? Understanding how to get along better with them and how your style is impacting them. Because remember, if you're the creative type and you're up here talking all the time, you can understand how that could be really hard for your employees. You're the boss. And if I'm the type that needs details and you're the boss, you're going to have to be really careful to make me feel comfortable to have that discussion with you. If you're the boss and you're that style that wants results, you got to be really careful not to intimidate your staff or to push them so fast that they don't have time to think through things. Now, if you're the boss and you're the one that needs time to think, don't alienate all these people that just want to move forward by leaving them out of your thought process. So your style impacts everybody on your team. And then hopefully everybody on your team can understand this about each other and meet halfway. Because when we learn to flex and meet halfway, that's when the magic happens. Let me stop for questions.